This episode was fire. After the imprisonment of Gojo Satoru via the prison realm, the entire Jujutsu world is practically upended. However, despite the episode being a really big cooldown from last week's insanity, there is so much to talk about and break down, as this episode is a stepping stone for understanding the sheer chaos that is about to occur. So, if you like Jujutsu Kaisen or Attack on Titan, One Piece, Demon Slayer, and Chainsaw Man, then this channel is for you. Get subscribed and drop a like on the video to help us reach into the algorithm. Do it for Gojo. This episode picks up with Mechamaru booting up, which I actually love this boot screen because it shows that Mechamaru may only be running on 800k memory, which is like 8 megabytes. I mean, that's like a couple images in today's time. But Itadori, though, notices that something is in his ear. Well, it's Mechamaru, and I love his reaction of trying to destroy him immediately because he knows, he technically tried to betray him, but doesn't know all of the context to it. Though it does seem that Mechamaru was able to survive and actually achieve his goal of contacting Jujutsu High, and informs Itadori that Gojo has been sealed. Speaking of, Gojo is trapped, successfully captured, but interestingly enough, Geto tries to strangle himself? Well, I'll explain. Turns out that this is what is left of Geto inside of his body, as Pseudo Geto explains that Mahito's theory of the soul being before the body is not true, and in fact, the soul is a part of the body itself. So basically, Geto's memories are still flowing within his body, amongst, well, his soul, and it's trying to basically kill himself. And in my opinion, this is a clear setup for some time in the future, maybe Geto taking back his body or causing enough of an issue for Pseudo Geto that it becomes his own downfall. Either way, really interesting that they bring this up here. I also love how Gojo wants them to just speed up the process. Even right now, he doesn't care he's being sealed up inside the prison realm. It just goes to show how much big dick energy Gojo constantly always has, even in the worst of situations. Back with Mechamaru and the others, though, Mei questions Mechamaru to show proof of the claims that he's making that Gojo was sealed, and so, well, he explains it to them, convincing them that this is, well, to be the case, and while also warning them that there is a cursed user coming their way to fight them. We also learn that there are 4 veils within Shibuya currently, even allowing no contact within it. Even cell phones are useless in this case. So Itadori is to return to the Meiji Shrine Station to tell the sorcerers there that Gojo is sealed, while Mei is there to create an opening for Itadori. Also, is it just me, or is this Ui cross Mei thing really strange and weird? It always bothers me when I see these two because, well, the whole incest thing and stuff. I mean, it's just strange that this is the connection that they have in this season. It just weirds me out. Finally, though, the cursed users arrive, and you immediately know these guys, man, they're just fodder for Mei and Ui. Those dudes have dead written on their faces. While this happens, back in Tokyo Metro B5F, Geto immediately drops the cube as within it, Gojo is still alive, shrugging this entire thing off while surrounded by skeletons of dead people. I also liked when Geto actually drops it, it kind of craters everything around it, showing really just how interesting and unique this object is. All the while, the others, though, outside the veil plan their next move, but they are smart enough to figure out that there is something incredibly fishy going on. And I like this kind of writing. It shows that, much like the villains, the heroes of this story are just as smart and can figure out that there is something going on based on the context and circumstances. In other words, it's good writing. Though at the same time, we see a man in a suit murdered by a couple of new figures we haven't seen yet in the show, one of a boy with long blonde hair, and the other a girl with short hair and a kimono. And this was pretty shocking for me, mainly for the fact that the voice acting here was pretty on point. It was also sort of hard to watch, mainly because of how sudden it was too. However, what I also like is how Mechamaru was able to plant a bug that was capturing video and audio of, well, the bad guys making their plan. And this just honestly makes me question how all of this was possible. How did Mechamaru execute this? He has no body. I know we didn't see his body when he presumably died, so it could be that, but it is interesting that he has had all these devices everywhere. So Mechamaru plans to have Itadori and the others circle them so that when the veil actually lifts, they'll be able to charge in all at once. A very smart plan. Though as Itadori enters the veil, we see all of the transfigured humans, one begging for death as Itadori simply annihilates them all. Even a giant one in a pretty solid action sequence from MAPPA here. Nothing special though, but this is an episode after a huge event, so it's expected that this scene isn't going to exactly be crazy. However, in a really cool scene though, Itadori climbs up to the rooftop to scream out that Gojo has been sealed, warning them all of his fate. And I love how the camera really pans out here to give this scene a bit of depth to it, making it look less 2D and just much more 3D and dynamic. Also, I love how Nanami immediately realizes the situation has become do or die, as Gojo being sealed is a horrible thing for humanity's existence. And it really just goes to show how important Gojo is in keeping the peace and how much people realize Gojo's grave importance to just merely existing. Mahito and Geto continue their plan as they now know that they've been found out by Mechamaru. Geto will be staying behind though, while the others are asked about what they're going to be doing. And we get our first real bit of motivation for this guy here, who is later revealed to be Choso, and he wants to apparently get revenge for his brothers by killing Itadori and Nobara. You better not, you bitch, you better not even try to kill Nobara. And freeing his younger brothers from Jujutsu Tech, of course. But, you know, he better not. Jogo immediately clashes with them as he doesn't care about Nobara being killed, but he can't kill Itadori. So Mahito has to come in, calm them down, and that he also reveals that he wants to kill Itadori. And why not? They're capable of doing so as Gojo is sealed, so they don't exactly need to revive Sukuna here. But Jogo reminds them, however, that Sukuna isn't their ally, and that by resurrecting him, there could be even more complications and risks by doing so. And that would usher in the era of curses. Curses that to them are completely fakes and don't deserve to be called that. Though Mahito sees it differently, as cursed spirits act freely. And, well, because of that, they're going to play a game. If Mahito runs into Itadori, he will kill him. But if Jogo finds him first, he can give him the fingers and let Sukuna regain his power. This is when we're also revealed that Choso is, named Choso, and that he, if he finds him, will kill Itadori. As for Geto, he abstains, as after all, Sukuna was a secondary option if their mission to a prison Gojo failed. Though after they run off and leave, we see something really interesting here. The twins that Geto once saved are still alive and with them, and are interestingly trying to get Geto's body back. So Pseudo Geto tells the two to get lost and that they should have realized the pact that they made with this sorcerer. But like any Bethesda game, they will remember that shit. I like this though, as it shows that Pseudo Geto has some weak links in his organization, namely from the twins. And while I think it's hard to see how it could happen in the context of the current events in JJK, I do imagine that this is going to come back up to bite Pseudo Geto in the medulla oblongata. But going back to Jogo's scene here, honestly, whenever I see him now, all I can remember is one of the recent comments I got on a JJK video of a girl thinking Jogo looked hot. So shout out to you, random viewer. You may be a simp, but you got major balls for saying that in a public forum. So Nanami and the others meet Itadori on the rooftop, and there Mechamaru tells them of what has been going down and how Geto was captured. So Nanami heads in to deal with the situation, while Ino is left to deal with Itadori and Megumi, and relay all of this information to the others. Ino then explains basically the consequences of Gojo being sealed up with the societal disarray, war, and all these other things that could possibly happen if they lose. So their goal is above all else to break that veil and stop the worst from happening. Honestly, this was a really nice cool down episode from the previous insanity that went down with Gojo being sealed. With all of that being said though, this chapter focused a lot on the antagonists and their dynamic as a group, which is to say they are focused but still divided in opinion. All in all though, if I were a betting man, I'd put my money on all of these small issues snowballing into something more significant. Could it be a part in the antagonist's downfall? I don't know, it's too early to say, but this episode was just a very good all around and letting us know that not everything is alright in the bad guys camp. Other than that though, this episode is a major stepping stone for the events that is about to happen, and let me tell you, you guys you guys ain't ready. So, let me know what you thought about this episode, specifically Gojo being imprisoned and seemingly the return of Mekamaru. Let your opinion be heard in the comments. I want to give a massive shout out to the over 200 people who subscribed after my most recent JJK breakdown analysis. I appreciate everyone showing their support for what I do, and the fact people want to see what I produce here, well, it's humbling. As well, a big thank you to everyone who checked out my reaction to the Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 236. It was a big chapter, and I was just excited to be part of it all. So, if you enjoy what I do here, then financially support the channel by becoming a patron, where you'll gain access to my mega One Piece arc reviews. Thanks for watching, bye-bye.